It's really nice if we can actually have activities around particular concepts. Now, most children are very familiar with the fraction 1/2, right? That's a fraction that they encounter quite frequently also in the real world. So let's devise an activity around that fraction. So the activity is as follows. We're going to get lots of sheets of paper and we'll pose two questions. Question number one is, how many different ways can you split the paper in a half? And question number two is, justify that you have indeed split the paper in 1/2. Okay, so this is the activity that we are actually going to try out. So let's actually start with the activity. So the question was, we first need to split the paper in half. So let's go ahead and split it that way. Well, we can just shade one of the regions. But the second part of the question was, we needed to justify that we have indeed split the paper in half. So to quickly check that, we can fold the paper and we find that we are not quite accurate but decently accurate, right? Fair enough. So we've done it in one way. Okay. Now let's split the paper in another way. Let's actually split it across here, shade one of the regions. And now we are meant to justify whether this is exactly 1/2. So you go ahead and fold the piece of paper and we find that we are again marginally off, but that would be exactly 1/2. So what we've basically done is we've split the paper in two ways, one horizontally and one vertically. And we also justified or tried to justify how the paper was indeed split approximately in 1/2. So what I would suggest is you actually now take a short pause and think about how many different ways can you actually split the paper in 1/2. So let's not waste too much paper. Let's assume that we've got a sheet of paper here. One way to split it would be diagonally. And of course, once we spot that, what we can do is we can split it again that way. Okay. Now let's see how many other ways we can actually split it. So if we have that as a piece of paper, we can even be ingenious and say that if we split it across that way, then this area here should be approximately half of the total paper. Okay, let's look at yet another way. So let's assume we have that as a sheet of paper. We can actually split it with multiple lines. Let's assume these are equally spaced, and that, and let's say that is half the paper. And similarly, what we can do is we can split it across that way, okay, and say that that is half the paper. Of course, these are not the only ways you can actually split the paper in halves. The question is, how many different ways can you actually do it? That's question number one. And question number two is you need to justify that these indeed represent half the paper. It is nice to do a simple activity to engage children with a particular concept. In this case, it was fractions and the fraction 1/2, as opposed to them feeling that they have to always be doing homework. You know, that for children can be very annoying. But the other important thing that this video gets across is that students need to get into the habit of not just doing something, but getting into the habit of actually justifying what they have done. So in a sense, you're proving or disproving that did you get the right answer. And that process of justifying your answer, in a lot of ways turns out to be almost as important as doing something, because lots of children do what they've been asked to do, but don't go ahead and ask the question themselves, can I justify why I have done what I have done, and check for themselves whether they actually have the right answer or not.